there was actually 3 bombs in Birmingham that night.
Yeah.
There was another bomb that was planted in the mulberry bush that killed people, and then there was another bomb that didn't explode on the Hagley Road behind the bank.
Okay.
Where 21 people were killed and it left over 200 people with life-changing injuries. We've been fighting for truth, justice and accountability for decades, but predominantly in the past decade now, to bring about truth and justice, because we had to fight to get the inquest renewed, where we had West Midlands Police hierarchy, their senior management, telling the senior coroner, Mrs. Louise Hunt, that she didn't have the authority to resume this inquest. Now, this was 21 people, 21 Brummies, who were murdered in Birmingham. And this is the senior coroner of Birmingham being told by the senior management of West Midlands Police that she didn't have the authority to resume the inquest.
Right.
However, she saw through this, and with new evidence and with witness statements coming forward, she said that, yes, not only did she have the authority, but that we could have our inquest resumed.
Right.
And on the back of that, another coroner took over, a retired coroner called Peter Thornton QC, who has since been knighted since he's taken on our inquest. And he, in an inquest, you get what is called a scope. You get narrow scope and wide scope. Narrow scope is keeping the amount of information that will be disclosed to a minimal. Wide scope is having it as broad a range as you possibly can.
Right.
We wanted broad scope. He decided to have narrow scope, where he decided to exclude the murderers from ever being mentioned in any shape or form in the inquest.
And what is his reasoning for that? Does he explain that?
Well, his reasoning is that they're saying that it's a state of law, that it is unreasonable to name the perpetrators who committed this heinous crime, because that the job of an inquest is to look at the how, what, where and when. But the how is the most pertinent point.
Sure.
Because the how is, how did they come about their sources to build the bomb? How then did they build the bomb? How then were they transported, and how and who planted the bombs? Without the how, it is impossible to give a full and transparent inquest. It's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well, it is. And also, I mean, there'll be people listening to this, Julie, saying it was a very long time ago. You know, is it not possible just to kind of move on to sort of to live and let live, as it were? But in the context of what's happening in Northern Ireland, particularly in my situation, where I'm seeing, you know, the likelihood of more and more British soldiers being prosecuted, very possibly, for things that they have done during that period, it seems a bit unfair, doesn't it?
Well, there are many points that you've raised there, but with reference to moving on, most people who it's very rare that people say that, but those who say that have not suffered the consequences of such a heinous loss.
Right.
When your loved one, you see one morning, I was 11 when she was killed. She didn't live with us, and the only reason why she was going to the pub that night was to hand out housewarming parties, because she was having a housewarming party because she'd moved into this old house with 2 of my other brothers. And we were all going because we were still close, and she'd stayed at our home 2 days before. And I was rushing to go to school because I was always late. My mum said, "Aren't you going to go and say goodbye to Mackie?" Because she was going to have the party on the Friday, and the bombs went off on the Thursday. This was the Tuesday. And so, I forgot. And I went running up the stairs, jumped on the bed and threw my arms around her and give her a hug and said, "See you Friday, Mackie, love you." And that was the last time I saw her alive.
At least you weren't having a row the last time you saw
But
her
that's
alive.
a shocking, and it's a shocking
sad.
memory. But also, your memory is also clearly, very, very vivid and real for you, Julie. And you're quite right to say that you deserve to be given the names. You deserve to have a full inquest in which the jigsaw is no longer a jigsaw.
The thing I'm confused about, Julie, is these people have been named, haven't they? They have been named in the past. A Granada television documentary named 4 of the 5 alleged bombers.
Yes. Yes. What is very interesting here is that the then Chief Constable Chris Sims of Westminster Police, when we eventually had a meeting with him in 2014. Now you need to bear in mind I wrote to him in 2009,
Wow.
demanding from him what he was doing to look for the perpetrators of England's biggest atrocity of the 20th century in peacetime history, and it still remains the longest unsolved mass murder of England's history. And he got his chief inspector to write back telling me he hasn't got the time for the likes of you, go away, in essence. So I wrote back telling them how contemptible they both were, and they got their desk sergeant to write back saying they're both on holiday. And he never responded to my letter for 5 years. It took him 5 years to respond to that. And he told us in the meeting we had with him in 2014 that he did have the names of the 5 in his drawer. And I said to him, but you are the police. He said, oh, yes, we are. And I said, well, why don't you go and investigate? He said, well, we haven't got enough evidence. I said, well, that's your job. Your job is to go looking for evidence. And this is one of the things that has come out in this judgment from the Court of Appeal, is where they've said that it's not in the public interest to name the suspects if they can be named. How can it not possibly be in the public interest to name the murderers who come to our city, killed with impunity, without any fear of retribution? It appears to many people now, and our supporters are growing exponentially in number, that the bigger the crime, the easier it is for you to get away with it.
Yeah. And do you feel as though the police and the authorities generally, and even the judicial system, is kind of just treating you with scant regard, Julie, in some way?
Absolutely.
And why? Why do you think they are?
It's utter disdain. Well, it's utter disdain. To add insult to the injury, we didn't know that the decision was going to be announced yesterday. Right. We were told it was going to be week commencing the 24th. No one told us what day it was going to come out or what time. I had a journalist, because all journalists are very respectful of our loved ones and are respectful to us. And it was Ben Chapman of ITV. He called me and he said, are you aware that it's coming out? And I said, no. He said, you mean you haven't been told? We said, no. And
That's
he said,
shocking.
even the legal team. We said, no. And then to add more insult, we've had to wait all this time for them to make this decision. But we've now been told we've got less than 48 hours to make a decision on such a significant issue of whether we're able to appeal.
And do you have a sort of, a reasonable lawyer that you can call upon? Have you got funds for that?
No. Our legal team, KRW Law, are based in Belfast. Right. And they have represented us for nearly 4 years now, pro bono. They are incredible. Our QC, Ashley Underwood initially, and Judy Kemish, they have represented us pro bono. Hugh Southey, who represented us for this appeal, we did have to raise funds to pay him and also to pay Adam Straw, who won us our judicial review in January, because we brought a judicial review against the coroner and his decision to exclude the murderers. And we've applied for legal aid 6 times, and we've been refused 6 times.
On what grounds, Julie? Do they tell you what grounds?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I was just about to tell you that the grounds are this. They've said that because our crowdfunding, because we physically go out onto the streets and prostitute ourselves to raise money, and the fantastic working class, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens come to our aid and help us raise money to bring about this judicial review earlier in the year. They helped us to raise over £35,000 because we kept being refused legal aid. The legal aid agency told us that because crowdfunding was going so well, that we should continue along that path. So they're using crowdfunding as a default mechanism to cover victims' families' legal costs when the coroner has a bottomless pit of money to dip into and just pay for whatever he needs. So when he appealed our judicial review, we had to find another £35,000. And the football fraternity across the country, in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, across Scotland, Wales, England, have been absolutely phenomenal. People from Belgium, Spain in particular, America, Australia, Canada have been buying our badges, our wristbands, our car stickers to help us raise money. But another reason why the legal aid agency told us that they were refusing us legal aid, get this. Now remember, they're meant to be impartial. and they're meant to be independent. They told us that they saw no merit in our judicial review, which makes them judge and jury.
Yeah. It's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, I've got a tweet here from somebody, and I'm going to read it out to you because it seems quite apt considering what you've been saying. And it's Chris, who says, British law's brilliant unless you're British. As an ex-member of the same regiment Dennis Hutchins served in, this shows the double standards that are at work in this country now. We can't upset the IRA now, can we? I mean, it seems as though history is kind of becoming reversed in some bizarre way, that, you know, they want to punish soldiers who have been serving in Northern Ireland, risking their lives because of what harm they may have supposedly caused to the locals. I mean, everybody knows the Troubles were a terrible time, but as I said at the start of the show, Julie, I mean, the 70s were very much a period when we were all sort of in fear of being blown up by an IRA bomb.
Yes, but not when you're into your pubs in a city that's got nothing to do with anything.
No.
These were innocent people that went out to meet their families and friends. And what people need to understand is that there were people from all heritages that was killed. That two of the lads that were killed were of Jamaican heritage.
Yeah.
All right, the youngest was only 16. He was 16. They weren't even in the pubs because they didn't drink.
Right.
They were walking past, and their injuries were not to be heard on live radio.
Yeah.
We've recently seen the coroner's report from Maxine's injuries, and her injuries were such that she may have been alive for 30 seconds, 5 minutes. She may have been conscious for that time. And I can only talk about Maxine, not the others. And to think that someone with the injuries that my sister had, lying alone in pain, having no one around her family, that is difficult for us to go to bed in our head. And what makes it even more difficult is that it's only since the past 5 years that our mother told us that she ID'd Maxine. She never told us to protect us, and she couldn't identify her because the phosphorus from the bomb had melted her hair into her face. So it wasn't possible to identify her from her face. And
Julie, the pain in your voice, you're almost making me cry sitting here, to be honest with you, because all these years on, you feel so strongly, and the fact that your cause is being ignored, and you're being literally just put in a bottom drawer and get back to you in 5 years' time, and yet the pain that you're getting across on this radio this morning is incredible. It really, I've got a sister. I sort of can comprehend what it'd be like to lose her, but what you've been through is just astonishing.
Well, we've been ignored. We're treated with just sheer contempt and utter disdain. There is nobody. Successive governments have continually ignored us. And I have to say this, as far as the British establishment for the past 4 decades are concerned, if you come from Birmingham, they don't give a toss. They don't care about victims of terrorism in any way, shape, or form.
Which is absolutely disgraceful in my view.
I can't
we've had the Windrush scandal, we've had people resigning over that, but we don't ever hear about this kind of scandal, Julie.
Julie, is there anywhere that people listening to this now who have been moved by your very emotive interview can go to help you? Is there a website or is there a telephone number that people can call?
I will apologise to everybody about our website because I'm not very techy and But we do have a website, and we're putting up details about Bishop's Memorial. We also have a GoFundMe site that if they go to our Twitter account, which is @justice421, that is actually linked. It's pinned as our opening tweet.
Okay.
If they want to help there, or if they want to buy one of our badges, which are £3, or a wristband, which is £1, or a car sticker, which is £1, they contact us through either our Twitter account or through our email address, which is justice421, justice for the 21, all one word, @hotmail.co.uk. We will happily send things out. We also have a CD that was kindly donated to us by 21 Birmingham bands, where Roy Wood donated a brand new song on there. We also have Steve Gibbons, we have Quill, We have Phil Hatton with Dave Scott Morgan, who was formerly of ELO, who wrote a song called The 21 Today, 21 Yesterdays, 21 Tomorrows, that they can purchase online, and all the proceeds go to our campaign funds. But our point is that it appears to us that we have laws in place to investigate and prosecute murderers, but those in government who legislate these laws don't have the backbone or the guts to enforce the very laws that are implemented.
Yeah.
It's absolutely awful. It's a terrible story, Julie. I'm glad that we've been able to highlight it. And I'm hoping,
absolutely.
And if you're going to make a decision to appeal this, which I think you can, please do let us know, because we I don't think we should hear the end of this.
No,
I think we should follow this up and make sure that the right thing is done, because it's a shocking state of affairs. It's a shocking sort of miscarriage of justice, really.
I'm stunned that it's had so little publicity. Until this story came to light, I was sort of unaware of this campaign.
Exactly.
So
now we're aware of it, Julie. We'll do what we can to help you. And thank you so much for coming on and talking about it. And good luck with it.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you, and the families really appreciate it. And thank you to all of our supporters who may be listening. Without you, we couldn't have done it.
Oh, God
exactly.
They keep us strong. Thank you.
Oh.
Julie Hambleton, thank you very much indeed. From Justice for the 21. I think this is pretty disgusting behaviour from not just this government, but every previous government, which has not granted the knowledge that these people deserve to have about how their loved ones died. It's 44 years ago. It's absolutely shocking.
Can't understand why they're ignoring it. I mean, the IRA have actually admitted, we were involved. We have collective responsibility for the bombing.
Yeah.
But, we're not going to tell you which one of us did it.
It's absolutely awful. Dreadful.